Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Camille, and I'm the marketing coordinator at Interware Systems. Today, we are discussing about why data backup is the most significant topic in today's threat landscape. Presenting today, we have Interware Solutions Architect Sharanjit Singh, Datto Solutions Engineer Stephen Riccio, Channel Account Manager Milos Suki, Channel Sales Executive Ryan Tucci. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the question box in your control panel, and we will bring them up at the end of the presentation. All right, so now without further ado, we will turn the time over to our first presenter. He has 10 years of experience with specialized skills in cybersecurity tools to modernize infrastructure and cybersecurity operations. He has provided exemplary services to diverse SME industries across Canada and executed sophisticated projects such as disaster recovery, network systems, amongst many other cybersecurity operations services. Sharanjit, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you for a fabulous introduction. I feel like a hero. Thank you very much. And I would like to welcome everyone who took time out today to join us for our live webinar. My name is Charanjit Singh, also known as CJ, and I'm a as solution architect, as Camille introduced me. So I'm gonna start with talking about Interware System a little bit. We are in business. This is our 39th year in the business. The key solution we provide is cybersecurity, from infosec policies to cybersecurity assessment to attack surface management. We do it all. We have a number of services at your disposal. Um, we also do digital transformation, where we have helped and are helping many companies to successfully complete their digital transformation journey from on-premise to online, and of course, secure cloud and related infrastructure. Um, Next, I want to basically share some statistics from last year. It's 2022 threat landscape, and there are some interesting statistics there that 20% of the human error is among the top three causes of data loss. We deleted a data permanently by mistake, or intentionally. It takes a company and an average of 22 days to recover after a ransomware attack. Up to 94% of the companies that experience severe data loss never recover, and that's astonishing, because think about it, that 94% of the companies who are hit by ransomware are not able to recover their data. That's very disastrous. 96% of the workstations are not being backed up properly. This is one of the very common problem, easy to overlook by many companies, where they do have some backup solutions, but they do not invest time in thinking about how to protect the data which is being saved on the workstations. Many users, for convenience or out of habit, are um, very used to saving data on the desktop and not into shared drives or a cloud network drive. So that's why that number is so high, because there's no backup. And 84% of the ransomware attacks, the data exfiltration happens, which means your data is being stolen by these malicious actors. And then 20% of the organizations and institutions who have experienced ransomware attacks, uh, they have experiences after switching to remote work, because once people are working from home, there is not enough security or backup plans which companies have invested their time in. So that's why the statistics is these numbers are really astonishing, and that this is what sums up the landscape from last year. 62% of the people who own a computer have lost data at some point. I think we can all relate to that. I am sure that there are a lot of people in this webinar who who can relate to this, and then 76% of those have deleted a valuable file unintentionally by mistake. She have deleted a file. Now there's no way to recover it, and this can happen to any organization, which makes the data backup essential. So some of the data breaches which made big headlines last year, a company called Circle CI is one of the world's most popular continuous integration and continuous delivery platform. Some unidentified threat actors compromise the employee's laptop and leverage the malware to steal their two-factor authentication backed credentials to breach the company system and data last month. Puma, however you pronounce it, also experienced a breach which was caused by a ransomware attack on Kronos, and Kronos is their workforce management solution provider. The personal data of 6,600 employees, including social security numbers, were stolen and was encrypted. But no customer information, luckily, was compromised at that point. Kronos regained the access to their system soon after, and then they had, as a compensation to those employees who were affected, they had to issue a complimentary identity theft protection service. And then in August last year, a hospital just outside of Paris was also hit by a ransomware by unknown malicious actors who asked for a $10 million basically $10 million ransom in order to provide them with a decryption key. Nobody has yet claimed to those attacks. This was a big attack because the intrusion into their network led them to restrict operations and create IT failures that affected patient admissions. Think about that. They had to refer the patient to other hospitals and other medical centers in emergency. So listening to all this, what is your best bet against such malicious actors and ransomware? Some might argue that, oh, you need to have a better security on your network, endpoint protection, but in the end, it all drills down to a efficient backup solution. So if you're looking for a lightweight data storage solution that can do the heavy lifting, I would like to introduce Datto. Now, Datto offers a comprehensive data backup, security, and disaster recovery solutions for your business. Data solutions defend against costly downtime and data lost in servers, virtual machines, and anywhere where data resides. Why Intraware and Datto? It's because Intraware has been a long-time partner with Datto, and we have together worked on saving a lot of companies their time, which they otherwise would have wasted in maintaining their own security and data backup solutions. We together work to bring peace of mind to you that your business data is protected and is available for a quick recovery in a case of emergency. We have a team of professionals with the right knowledge, right tools, and the right experience to safeguard and cater to all your data protection needs. And then with Intraware, we do have a plethora of additional services from disaster recovery plan to business continuity planning and penetration testing, which will help you to protect your business and data. It's at your disposal. So I would, without further ado, I would like to pass the torch to Ryan Tucci, so he can talk about some data solutions from here.
Thanks. Thanks for that, CJ. Thanks for the introduction. That was great to go over kind of the threat landscape from last year and see. Yeah. So I'm joined by my colleagues Milos and Stephen. You've been longtime Datto employees here and been partnered with Interware for some time. And today specifically, we want to talk to you about protecting your SAS data and how threats about that and how you can protect it with Interware and Datto. So if we can share our screen here, if CJ, if you want to stop sharing there.
I have stopped sharing it. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. There we go. Okay, so specifically Datto SAS Protection, which is your SAS data. So Office 365 and Google Workspace data. And so your SAS, we're going to go over why your SAS data is vulnerable, and why backup cloud data and best practices on doing so. And so everybody's moving towards the cloud, and I guess Milos can speak a lot to this on why you need to protect your SAS data.
Yeah, so I can interject here. My name is Milos. I've been working with the IT space for the last 15 years in Canada, and I've interacted with Microsoft 365, Office 365 that became Microsoft 365, and Google G Suite since the very early days. And the idea behind this whole webinar, and specifically this section about SaaS, is that before the providers, we're talking years back, they kind of had some backup, natively some backup mechanisms in their platforms. And then they realized, well, it's kind of the end user's jobs to protect their own tenant, right? So, and the idea behind it is that you see these numbers on the screen, and like this number keeps going up. There will never be a day again when we'll speak and the number for SaaS will be kind of lower. This is where the industry is going. There's a lot less on-prem servers, a lot more digital workload. So we switch the slide? Yeah, so on the next slides, we'll discuss about what's the risk to data. And as you can see here, 70% of organizations basically have suffered some kind of disruptions in the SaaS data. This morning, I was getting in my inbox actually a notification that Microsoft had a big outage, right? And that a lot of people could not access their OneDrive data and so on. So these, whether it be human initiated or from the provider, they can happen. They cause a lot of downtime to a lot of organizations. And just before we move on to the next slide, what I want to explain here is that whether if it's initiated by a cyber attack, for example, right, the bad guys are not going after your data specifically, your spreadsheets and so on. They're going specifically about your downtime. And before like these attacks happen, they know what does 24 hours represent in terms of money for you. So when they're attacking you, it has nothing to do about the data you have. It's all about they know that you cannot be down. And today we want to give you a way to easily, very easily protect all the data that you have in the Microsoft 365. And we'll get into laptops later, but that public cloud Microsoft 365 part we're going to talk about is probably the most misunderstood part of IT today. People think they're with Microsoft, they have backup. No, Microsoft's too big to not have backup. And I'll drop some few links later. You can switch the slide, Ryan. But I'll drop links in the chat later where Microsoft themselves, they tell you that they don't have backup and they recommend that you have a third party. And that's where we're coming with the SAS protection. Maybe you can switch the slide.
Steven's on the slides there. Steven, want to just go ahead and switch?
No worries at all.
Slide. There we go. Yeah, I think it's section 6B in their EULA. They mentioned that they recommend a third party. Yeah.
So I can take this. So like data recovery, it takes a long, very long time for a lot of organizations that don't equip themselves with those kind of solutions like this SAS protection will basically take that backup, put it offsite to our data centers, and will allow you, in almost all cases to, start working and be in production again. Because again, like this is, we're in a world where unfortunately, like the attacks and the cyber attacks are a business like any other business. That's how they're treated overseas and from the people that do that. So we have a good calculator, and I can drop that there too, which is public on our website, by the way, which is datto.com/RTO. And this will basically calculate exactly that for your particular business, how much does your downtime cost you if you were going to be down for a day, a week, or something? So these metrics like RPO and RTO, you have to know. This is very important. Can we go to the next slide? Perfect. Maybe I'll do this slide and I'll let kind of Stephen jump in. But the idea behind Teams is that, I don't know if you guys remember, but before the COVID, Teams communications to external organizations were shut down by default by Microsoft. You could not communicate externally. Ever since COVID hit, what Microsoft did is they opened the vault. So it means everyone can communicate with everyone on Teams. So since that day happened, it's great for many organizations, including myself. Like I manage IT shops around Canada and I communicate with them all the time. But this also poses the biggest vector possibly of cyber attacks, because they know all they need is they need your email address. If your email address appears on LinkedIn or on your website, they're being taken, and then they try to send you links on Teams. Before you click, always ask yourself, is it 100% safe? Does it look 100% normal? If you're not sure, we can help you out determine that, the team on this call. But what I want to say is that Teams has become this big vector of infection and of threats, and our solution SAS Protection will actually back up your Microsoft Teams to make sure that even in case you're audited or you need the conversations and the calendars and the links you shared, that you have an offsite backup of even Teams data, which is pretty fantastic.
I see we have a few questions in the Q&A. We can get to those at the end of the presentation, but just keep them coming in, and we'll get to them once we're done here.
Yeah. So I can kind of go ahead with this. What this slide says is, because everybody's working from home, like not everyone's network is protected, and a lot of people work a lot with local files that they don't necessarily store in OneDrives. You can see that even those statistics say that the ransomware attacks increased, right? And any IT firm has seen it in, like, it's sad to say, but the reality is that there's two types of companies in this world. The companies that got hit by a cyber attack and the companies that will get hit. It's just we've reached that point in our society where this is going to be just like a good backup system, and disaster recovery and being able to recover your files is going to be as important as having insurance for your building, because it's just our new reality and it will just increase. So if you could do one thing at the end of this webinar, I'm pretty sure we can drop like the sales team's email address in the chat, is book a free consultation with these guys, and like we can do an audit of your network, of your SAS data, see where your data is at, and we'll be able really to help you out. Next slide, please. So as you can see, and we have a good video which I can share as well, which basically details a ransomware attack on Microsoft 365. People seem to think it only can happen on servers and workstation and endpoints, but the reality is you could get an email and click on a link that just looks like a Microsoft link, and it will infect all your emails, your OneDrive, not only yours, but in most cases a vast part of the organization. If you guys remember the Colonial Pipeline attack, for example, that started by a link in Google Drive. So even your public cloud data with Microsoft 365 is at risk, and that's exactly what we're covering here with SAS. Next slide. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about why to protect your SAS. And like I kind of mentioned before, Microsoft takes care of really the basics, right? Natural disasters, power, hardware, and their own software that they wrote, right? Which is Microsoft 365. So they make sure, basically, the only thing that Microsoft makes sure is that you can log into your email. And I'm not even talking about the Outlook desktop email. I'm talking online, because even if your Outlook doesn't work, it's kind of not their responsibility, something on your network, right? So Microsoft is very limited in terms of um, what they cover you for. And so that service agreement is in the chat now. It's section 6B. You can read it, but basically what they say is they're not liable for any human error, any loss that comes from the user side of things, cyber attacks, external factors. And they say that you should get a third-party backup solution for your Microsoft 365. Now, what does that mean really? Means that it's not my recommendation as the Datto employee. It's not the MSP's recommendations. It's really the manufacturer. It's like you buy a car, they tell you can't leave the garage if you don't insure it. Same kind of thing. They tell you we're not responsible. So every seat that's on this call, if you guys have Microsoft 365 and you don't have external backup, that's, in short, a potential recipe for disaster. So follow Microsoft best recommendation. It's just it's inexpensive solution for you guys on the call, and it's absolutely addressing the biggest misconception in cybersecurity today. Thinking Microsoft, the big guy, has my data, is protecting me against everything. No, that's all. By the way, that's true for Microsoft 365, but they also have the same kind of tax for their Azure platforms and stuff like that, right? Because these big guys, Google, AWS, and Microsoft, they really give you the responsibility. They have There's this shared responsibility model, but you as the user or as the IT manager have a lot of responsibility, and we're offering a super easy solution to follow and to implement, and you're covered. That's it. So can we go to the next slide? All right. So this is basically what they say in the link that I sent. And that link basically says, that just they're not liable for nothing. And that's word for word what's in the link. So we're seeing your other screen, right? So word for word is they say they recommend that you back up your data on third party. So as for Datto, the questions that might come up is, yeah, but are your data centers in Canada? Absolutely, Toronto and Calgary, right? We store your data to 2 data centers independently to have really an air gap backup solution.
There might be some people here that aren't based in Canada, but we do offer. There's obviously American data centers, and we have some overseas as well. You get to choose which one you want to be protected in.
Yeah, a good point. And there's also a very interesting link that came out for Microsoft a few weeks ago. They keep updating it. It's pretty new link. Basically, I'll kind of drop it here, but it's a link that explains what to do if you're hit by ransomware Microsoft 365. And for guys that are opening it, it literally says the first step is to verify your backups. Otherwise, it's going to be a very bad day because they don't have a way to roll back the tenants. Next slide. So there's a lot of limitations as what Microsoft covers in terms of their retention themselves, but pretty much the only kind of backup system that is with Microsoft is there's a section in your Outlook that's when you right click on deleted items that's called recover deleted items. Those, they will keep the data for 30 days. Sometimes it's even less than 30 days. It's kind of a just emergency, like you deleted a deleted item or something like that, or you deleted item. So they keep like some temporary vault, which they keep of just emails, which is there for 30 days. After 30 days, they're gone forever. And I've seen those items being purged by Microsoft even before the 30-day mark. All in all, is to say, that 30 days to retain all your business critical data is not enough. And especially if you don't have all the other components like the SharePoint and OneDrives and so on. And we're coming in at a solution which you can protect your data for a rolling year, so you'll always have 12 months of your backup, or in an unlimited fashion. Very easy to implement. By the way, guys that are more technical on this call, and you might wonder, okay, but how do we implement this? Super simple. It's just cloud to cloud. There's no agents to install, nothing to do on your own PC, no softwares to install, nothing like that. It's cloud to cloud, starts backing up your data. Obviously, CJ can manage it, but you can also have access to your own tenant if you have an internal IT team in which you can manage it as well. Next slide. So these are kind of the thresholds at Microsoft where they keep your data or not. And this constantly changes. This is a slide back from a year ago, I believe. But as you can see, you cannot run your business if they delete everything permanently, right? You can see the OneDrive files and so on. If you don't have an external backup system and something happens, pretty much everything is either moved to archive or just deleted as itself. Because you have to understand that these guys as well, like the big clouds, Microsoft and Google, they don't keep your data if they don't have to, because it costs them money of storage, right? So that's why they build a strategy like that, and then they rely on Datto and their partners to basically, drive that education home with end users and say, listen, like, if something happens tomorrow, there's nothing I can do. You don't have third-party backup. Next slide. Google also is clear. I'm saying it's not as clear as Microsoft, but for the guys, if you have Google Workspace, will absolutely take, the mailbox, the drives, and so on. And they're kind of a little more general, but at the same time, it's the same to have tested it personally at my when I was a technician. They also have a purging mechanism, and they don't have any native way to restore data efficiently. So you can switch to the next slide, and I'll do a little parenthesis here for all this third-party backup solution, and maybe some guys are sitting on this call and going, yeah, but Milos, I have archiving. Yes, okay, archiving and third-party backups, two completely different things. Archiving is used for referencing and auditing. So if you're audited by someone that needs a copy of something, you can kind of export from your in-place archive from your archive mailbox, right? But what I'm presenting here, it's not for auditing, it's for business continuity. So you have access to your data. Because imagine the whole company cannot access email. How bad of a day that would be? In this day and age, we simply cannot live without, that Microsoft 365 data. That's everything. So our sending emails, we're files, SharePoint, name it all. We use it at its fully potential, and that's why we come in with that third-party layer that goes to Datto's cloud, as you can see on the right here, to 2 clouds. So we basically take your backup 3 times a day. So every single user, every single SharePoint, every single OneDrive, in public Teams groups, we take them 3 times a day. You have the ability to do on-demand backups if you wanted to. Really easy to restore. You can restore a single user to the original user to another user, or you can just take a file. You can just search for a thread and pick up a thread. Really, really easy. The platform is simplistic, so everybody can use it. It's a platform meant for admins to restore back to end users. It's not really a platform meant to give access to your 350 end users to run their own restores, which I'm not sure it would not be the intended behavior anyway, or best practice. But we have a lot of security features in there. We run non-destructive restore, so meaning like our items that we restore will never kind of erase other items because they think they're duplicates or stuff like that. Allows you to search. It's good for Microsoft 365 and Workspace, and you'll have an offsite copy of that data, which I'm pretty sure if we be on this call and we'll run a poll about who has a third-party backup on public cloud. Like, the world statistic is that there's about 1 million tenants in the world. Out of these 1 million Office 365 tenants, there's at least 75% that have zero third-party backup. Think about that for a second. It's crazy. Next slide. So yeah, so we know that there's none of that native stuff, and basically we're just here to tell you, get this. There's just a couple bucks a user, super easy to implement, and you'll be just covered. And that's the beauty of it. There's nothing to program, to script. You don't have to be tech savvy. Nothing of that. Listen, I'm a sales rep, and like I'm not any tech, but I've learned to implement that like in 10 minutes. If you have a 1200 user domain or a 2 user domain, it doesn't change much for us. The API picks it up and will protect all the users. Next slide. So be protected in those kind of cases and improve efficiency. I'm gonna say something here. How many times I've been stuck in life where I had to set up a profile for another employee, then export a PST file in Outlook so I have a copy of his data and all of that. You can use this platform as well to restore data from user to user, or to transfer data from user to user, like particular folder or something like that. So for the guys that have the IT teams internally, this also allows you to move data quite fast from user to user to improve efficiency. But the main point is really be protected, because Microsoft is not protecting you. And if you don't take that decision yourself, no one can help you. Not your MSP, not Microsoft. Microsoft are telling people on their lines, oh, you caught ransomware Microsoft 365. Well, we don't have any native backup. Verify your backups. They send you that second guy that I sent in the chat, and see you later. You have to figure it out. Scripts, PowerShells, I don't know what you have to do, but it's really, really complicated. So next slide. Yeah, a few features, like I said, 5-minute install. For the guys that are really need a certain compliance, we meet the high standard of data centers, SOC 2 Type 2. We can send you the certification. We're geo-replicated to multiple data centers throughout the world. Like if you have international plans for your company, you want to expand, you can tell us where to put your data. We have two per region generally. Like in Canada and the US, we have 2 in Canada, multiple in the US, but we have Europe as well. So that allows you, it's all encrypted at transit and at rest. So it's not like traveling over the internet, just as clear data. These API tunnels, that when we take data from Microsoft, they're very, very secure. Next slide. So a little bit of features of the Datto Cloud here. It's completely elastic. We kind of have our own data centers. We're not replicating your data to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or nothing like that. We have our own data that allows us to be much more scalable, much more cost efficient for you guys, and to implement high security measures in this environment. Our CISO is actually an ex-FBI expert of IT, so we take this very, very seriously. It's built in ZFS for the techie guys on here, so that means simply we can display millions of items in a few seconds, right? So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, but we also have a security document we can send you guys that elaborates more into that. Next slide. Quickly addressing your needs, you're able to recover quickly data. Human error, cyber attack, takes a couple of seconds. The emails you want are back in the recipient's mailbox. Also, this middle point is a lot of you guys delete users from Microsoft 365 when they're gone from your company. You just lose their data. That's what happens. Like millions of users are lost every day because people don't have third party and backup, and they don't want to pay for this license just hanging in there, right, for an inactive user. So what will happen is with this platform, like the shared mailboxes and SharePoints, they're just included, right? You just pay a fee for the same amount of users Microsoft charges you for. So why I'm telling you this is this platform allows you to switch the user to a shared mailbox, which Microsoft doesn't charge you for, and will take the shared mailboxes no cost for you guys, right? So you don't lose data from from users that kind of left the organization. Never again. All you have to do is never delete a user again, just switch it to a shared mailbox. Boom, you kept his data. That's how easy it is. And then, of course, about the cyber attacks. Next slide. Who's switching the slides?
Stephen.
Steven, can we have the next slide? So what are your options really, right? You can do nothing and just be conscious of if it happens, I'm aware of the risk. I would bet that 998 companies out of 1,000, they're not in that category. No one's saying, I'll lose my data. No big deal. Like, it's just not possible. And then you can work with Microsoft's giving you, which is pretty much nothing, right? A few emails here and there, no OneDrive data, externally nothing. Or you can just pay a couple bucks a user and have this backup installed with you, like literally in 30 minutes from now. And so I think the choice is evident here. So next slide. So yeah, so we talk a little bit about here about the public clouds and how they're designed, right? You have, of course, the external threats, what's coming in your organization. That can be emails, that can be malicious OneDrive files, stuff in Teams as well, or they can be also malicious users. Someone says, oh, I've been fired, so let me delete all my data before I go. Like, how many times I've heard that? Well, you always have a copy of your data with SAS Protection, and you're protected against external threats in a sense that if they encrypt your data in something, we got your data non-encrypted, guaranteed, if you have the solution on. Next slide. So we spoke about that a little bit. What I can tell you is that covers mail, so that's mail contacts, calendars, tasks. Then SharePoint, so all your team sites, your SharePoint sites, and then shared mailboxes, and then Teams. We take the public Teams channels in there. The private conversations, you already have them backed up in your conversation history folder in Exchange. So that's a kind of telling you we take the whole tenant. Next slide. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know, CJ, if you can drop your sales team email in the chat here, somewhere where people can easily reach out to you. Ryan, you can do the same thing. They can reach out to you directly. And yeah,
we still have we still want to go through cloud continuity. Yes. And Steven's gonna run through that, but we have a couple questions that before we move on from SAS. So some might be more technical for you, Steven, but I can answer a couple here. So one's, what is the retention policy for Datto? So basically that's something you'll discuss with Interware. We have options. We have an infinite time retention where we'll store your data forever, and then that, or also a 1-year time-based retention. And so those are the two options there. So basically we can store it for however long as you want it to be. And there's another one there from Marissa. Storage limit provided? No, there's no storage limit. It's all unlimited storage of the whole suite. And then Stephen, this one might be better question for you. Will there be performance issues when we move to the cloud from on-premise?
No, there shouldn't be any.
Okay, one more. So we back up 3 times a day. How often are restores tested/validated?
So basically, you can take that one, Steven, if you want.
No, go ahead, Milos.
Well, we basically make sure that we take the data correctly, right? At ingestion of that system according to what Microsoft is giving us. So we know if the data is healthy, right? In 100% of the cases, if they encrypt like mail or OneDrive, it'll happen to multiple users. So you'll know what's the specific time of that attack. Let's say 11 a.m. Okay, the attack hit at 11 a.m. So I know that that morning around 9, I have a fresh backup of my users. So you just roll back previously to the point before the attack.
Perfect. Yeah, that's it for the questions on SAS protection there. And then yeah, Steven, you can jump into the cloud continuity now.
Cool, sounds good. Just get this going here. Let me just take this off because it's blocking one of my screens. All right, let's share this one. All right, let's talk about cloud continuity for PCs. So when we talk about cloud continuity for PCs, we're talking specifically about endpoints. And by endpoints, I mean workstations, laptops, desktops. And this is a direct-to-cloud solution. This really helps us protect against lost or stolen laptops, or if a laptop actually breaks, if you're on a work trip and you check your luggage, your laptop's in there, and your luggage is gone. What happens then? You lose all your data. Anything stored on that local endpoint is potentially gone, and you could have all of your work from years go back, and it's just gone. With cloud continuity, we protect that. We back it up twice every 2 hours. I'm sorry, yes, every 2 hours, and goes back to 1 year. So system failure, ransomware, anything that happens on that local terminal is completely protected. Let's say you're hit with ransomware on your network. Excuse me. And what happens then is not only is your terminal corrupted, but it's potentially going all the way replicating through the network, and therefore impacting other users. And if everyone's protected, we can all get restored, which is in the end exactly what we're looking for. We're looking to restore that continuity, to keep you guys up and running, to get that data back to your business so you can continue to operate as you normally would. What we can do with cloud continuity for PCs, once it's installed, it's a very lightweight agent. After a reboot commences, you're automatically being protected. It is no need to schedule anything, no need to modify anything like that. It's just every 2 hours, as long as there's an internet connection from wherever you are, you're going to be protected. You can have it at your work. If you take it, you go home. As long as you're on the internet, it's going to just continue to back up as needed. When we're talking about restores, what we can do is restore individual files or folders. We can restore the entire drive. We can take what we call a BMR, which is short for bare metal restore, and just completely wipe out any of that corruption that exists, or even if it's fried, like the hard drive itself fries, put a new hard drive in there. We do a bare metal restore. It restores exactly how it was when that backup commenced. For instance, the laptop I'm on now has been BMR'd 3 times successfully. When my kid threw it in the toilet, or near the toilet on the sink, and it was just completely fried. I got a brand new one, restored it perfectly fine, and within a couple hours, my entire system was restored, and I was able to actually do some work. So what this does is it saves a lot of time in having to configure how your backups want to work, where you're going to store it. You can store all your files on an external hard drive, but that's also subject to weather. If there's a lot of humidity, that drive is going to get corroded after a while, and then your backup plan, essentially, which is that external drive, is completely gone. Your laptop is completely gone, and then you're rendered useless. Not useless, but your data is rendered useless. So we provide screenshot verification. How good is your data that's being backed up? If you're taking files and folders and data and moving it from your laptop to another external source, you don't know if that data is corrupted. You don't know if there's underlying NTFS level corruption that is present in those block levels transferring over to wherever it is. With screenshot verification, once a day, we are proactively letting you know if that data is good or bad. We boot it up, and after 5 minutes, it's going to take a screenshot of wherever that booting process is. And if you're seeing a login screen, you know that that data is good. It's intact. There's no underlying corruption that is causing that data to be not valid anymore. And if something's failing, backup's failing, screenshots failing, anything like that, or it's not syncing properly, we're going to let you know. And we then take the proactive measures to get that back up and running for you. So it is just like Mila said before. It is we utilize ZFS, so it's image based. It is a inverse chain, so that way, if you have a corrupted point from 3 days ago and that corruption is fixed, right, from the proactive alerting of that screenshot verification, we're going to let you. Once that's fixed, we are letting you be able to restore from going forward, going back. In typical backup chains, if there's a corrupted point, a whole new base image has to be taken, and then all those previous backups are completely useless. With Datto and Cloud Continuity and our other continuity products, utilizing the inverse chain technology, it's you can restore any points that are perfectly valid, forward, backwards, present, anything you need. Right now we can restore up to we can support and restore and back up to 1.5 terabytes per terminal or per endpoint. That is pretty standard across the industry. Not a lot of people are using more than 1.5 terabytes on their system, and so for 99% of the endpoints that are out there, we are a perfect fit for this type of technology and this type of recovery and backup. So no business is really immutable to data loss. You can have a bunch of different security features in place, but really what it comes down to is your network and your data is as strong as the weakest point. Wherever the weakest link is, that's where the contamination can come from. So having that in place and knowing that at any point in time something can slip through the cracks, knowing that your data is backed up and knowing it's somewhere secure with all those compliances and security features that we have, and it's also replicating offsite to another offsite, right? Knowing that you have 3 copies of your data is just a really good peace of mind to have when you're talking about a continuity solution. Additionally, we do have other ways to back up. If you're not familiar with Datto, we can back up servers, we can back up endpoints, we can back up virtual VMware hypervisors or Hyper-V hypervisors, and whether it's virtual, whether it's physical, whether it's an endpoint, we can protect your data no matter where it lives. That's Cloud Continuity.
Awesome. Yep. Thanks, Stephen. That's awesome. Yeah, that's everything we had for you all today. Thanks for joining. So if you have any questions or you want to get started here, you can just reach out to the Interware team and they can help you out with whatever they need. And Camille, I'll pass it back to you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ryan. It looks like we've covered all of the questions. But if you have anything else, I'll be posting our contact details later, and then you can always reach us if you have any further questions about the webinar. So great, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. I hope you all learned something, new and valuable. So if you haven't gotten a copy of the InfoSec Maturity Roadmap yet, get yours today. I'll be posting the link in the chat as well. Again, so thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time in the next webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.